Welcome to Messages from the Universe with Laurie Wondra. Laurie is an internationally renowned psychic medium, author, and shamanic practitioner, sharing insights from angels, guides, wisdom keepers, and teachers of the universe that help you navigate life's mysteries and transformations.
Hello, I am Laurie Wondra, and thank you for listening. Today I want to talk about you as being a portal. Things that we talk about that might change our life. It's not something external that changes our life, but it's what we do when the universe nudges or pushes us or creates gateways of energy. Recently, I came across a social media post that really caught my attention. It suggested that the Summer Solstice of 2026 marked the official closing of a karmic loop that began in 2020. And I can agree with that. The post was beautifully written. It spoke about Saturn and Pluto meeting in Capricorn in January of 2020 and opening a cycle of restructuring, rebuilding, grief, growth, endings, and transformation. And it suggested then that on June 20th of 2026, that cycle officially closed. As I read the information, I found myself reflecting on the message, not because I disagreed with it, not because I completely agreed with it, but because it touched on something much deeper. The truth is, I don't believe a date changes us. I don't believe a solstice suddenly erases our pain. I don't believe a planetary alignment magically completes our healing. What I do believe is this: we are the portal. The planets create the weather, life creates the opportunities, but we are the ones who choose whether to walk through the doorway. And that distinction changes everything. The difference between fate and participation. One of the greatest misunderstandings in spirituality is the belief that something outside of us is going to save us, rescue us, awaken us, or transform us. And many people wait for that perfect alignment, the perfect moon, the perfect eclipse, the perfect teacher, the perfect sign, the perfect moment. And while cosmic events absolutely influence energy, they do not replace our participation. The universe may open a door, but you still have to walk through it. The universe may present an opportunity, but you still have to choose it. The universe may whisper, but you still have to be listening. And the planets do not create your evolution. They reveal opportunities for your evolution. And that's a very different thing. Imagine standing before a doorway and the doorway is open. The light is shining through and you can see whatever is possible on the other side. But unless you move your feet and you walk through that doorway, nothing changes. The portal exists, yet the portal remains unused. The same is true in our lives. A relationship presents an opportunity, or a career presents a challenge or an opportunity. A health diagnosis presents an opportunity. A move, a loss, a birth, a divorce, a new beginning. Every one of them I could call a portal. But the transformation occurs when we engage with the experience consciously. I'd like to take a moment and reflect on that time period from 2020 to 2025, the initiation and the endings. So let's return to 2020 for a moment. And whether you follow astrology or not, very few people would argue that something significant began around that time. The world changed. Systems changed, communities changed, families changed, and certainly we changed. For many, 2020 was not merely an event, it was an initiation. an initiation into uncertainty, an initiation into endings. Things ended that needed to end. It was initiation into resilience, an initiation into becoming, and it forced us to examine what we valued, what we feared, what we trusted, what we tolerated, what mattered to us. And it forced us to look at what no longer fit. Some relationships deepened and others ended. Some careers expanded and others disappeared. And some people discovered entirely new versions of themselves. Others struggled simply to hold things together. And yet, beneath all those experiences was a common thread. It was the invitation to become more conscious, to wake up, to question, to discern, to choose, to remember who we are beneath the roles we play. And perhaps that's why the social media post resonated with so many people, not because a karmic loop is literally ending for everyone on one specific date, but because we can all feel that something has changed. That person who entered 2020 no longer exists. As I reflected on the message, one thought kept returning to me. And what stands out isn't that a karmic loop closed. It's that the version of who we were when we entered 2020 is not the same person that's standing here today in 2026. So pause for a moment. Think of who you were 6 years ago. Think of what mattered to you then. Think about what you worried about, what you believed. Think about what you thought your life would look like in the future. And now, look at where you are today. Perhaps your home is different. Perhaps your work is different. Perhaps your health is different. Perhaps even your relationships are different. Perhaps your dreams are different. But even if nothing externally changed, I would argue that you changed because life changes us. Every experience leaves an imprint. Every challenge leaves wisdom. And every loss leaves understanding. Every joy leaves expansion. So the person you were in 2020 helped create the person you are today. And the person you are now is creating the person you will become. The portals of this initiation is one of the greatest portals for growth is relationship. Relationship reveals us. They show us our wounds. They also show us our gifts. They show us where we love freely and where we protect ourselves. Many people experienced significant shifts in relationships between 2020 and today in 2026. And some relationships strengthened and some dissolved. Some revealed truths that could no longer be ignored. But relationships are never merely about the person. They're mirrors. They show us who we are becoming. Every relationship asks a question. Will you choose fear or love? Will you choose control or trust? Will you choose authenticity or performance? The portal is never the relationship itself. The portal is who you become through it. The same is true for career and purpose. Many people changed careers during this cycle. Others changed how they viewed success, and still others discovered that achievement alone could not satisfy the soul. Purpose is not a job title. Purpose is an expression of your energy. Purpose is how you contribute to humanity, to community, to yourself. Purpose is how you serve. Purpose is how your gifts move through this lifetime and the world. And the years since 2020 have challenged many people on deeper questions. The questions to ask are, why am I here? What am I creating? What matters most? And what legacy am I leaving? Those questions aren't punishments, they're invitations. Those questions can be looked at as portals. Health can also become a profound teacher. Few people would choose health challenges, yet many discover unexpected wisdom through them. Health strips away illusion. It asks us to listen, to honor our bodies. It forces many to slow down, to pay attention, to become present. And sometimes the greatest awakening comes not through comfort, but through challenge. Not because suffering is required, but because awareness is required. And awareness often arrives when life demands our attention. And life happens through these cycles. Nature is probably the best teacher in this continuous cycle of change. The seasons do not apologize for changing. Winter does not cling to autumn. Spring does not fear becoming summer. Trees do not argue with growth, and the river does not resist becoming the ocean. Everything in nature understands cycles, yet humans often struggle with them. We want certainty. We want permanence. We want guarantees, and we want to know what comes next. But life was never designed that way. Life moves in spirals, and we revisit lessons, and we deepen our understanding in those spirals. We return to themes from different levels of awareness. And what appears to be an ending is often just a beginning. What appears to be a beginning is often a continuation. And the soul does not move in straight lines. The soul moves in expanded circles. And every cycle teaches us something new. So what about this solstice of 2026, the reflection and this threshold? Because I talk about portals and thresholds and pushing through or moving through these gateways. Well, the solstice itself is beautiful symbolism. It marks a turning point in light. It reminds us of our light. It is a threshold. It's a pause or a reminder, not because the sun changes us, but because it reflects change already occurring within us. The ancients understood this. They watched the sky because it mirrored life. The heavens became a calendar of consciousness, a way to understand timing, a way to recognize cycles, and a way to align with nature. And the solstice invites us to ask, what am I carrying forward? What am I ready to release? What wisdom have I gained in this season? And who am I becoming? These questions matter most, and they matter more than any prediction. The solstice itself is not the ending. It's the threshold. It's a pause point, a point to stand between what was and what is becoming. So if 2020 through 2025 was an initiation, then I would say the solstice of 2026 becomes the reflective doorway. It asks us to look back without becoming trapped there. It asks us to honor the journey without dragging every piece of it forward. It asks us to recognize what was completed, not because the universe declared it was over, but because we have become someone different. So let's look forward to August, the 2026 eclipses. Those are more about revelation and choice, because if the solstice opens the doors, the eclipses invite us through it. And if the solstice asks, what have you learned? The eclipse asks, what are you going to do with all this wisdom? I've often described eclipses as cosmic spotlights. They illuminate what's been hidden. They reveal what is complete, and they expose what can no longer continue in the same form. And perhaps most importantly, they create openings that may not have existed before. Many people think of eclipses as events that happen to us. I don't see them as that way. I see them as moments when life becomes impossible to ignore because something surfaces. A truth becomes visible. A decision can no longer be postponed. A relationship reaches a turning point. A career path maybe changes direction. A dream that has been quietly waiting suddenly demands attention. And the eclipses don't create the change. The eclipses illuminate the change that's already been forming beneath the surface. That's why eclipses can feel both unsettling and liberating at the same time. The August 2026 eclipse energy arrives after months of transition. The solstice invites reflection, but the eclipse invitation invites us to action. Imagine standing in a hallway. Behind you is everything you experienced since 2020. The lessons, the losses, the growth, the uncertainty, the rebuilding. And then ahead of you is this doorway that's not yet fully opened. You can see the glimmer of light in the crack of the door as it's barely opened. And the solstice is where you stop and look back, and the eclipses are where you decide whether you will continue carrying the old story or step into a new one. Many people spend years identifying themselves through what happened to them. They may have built stories around that identity. They might say things like, I am the person who was hurt. I am the person who lost everything. I am the person who got sick. I am the person who was abandoned. Or I am the person whose life was forever changed. But eclipses ask a different question. They ask, who are you now? Not who were you? Not what happened? Not what was taken away. Who have you become because of it? That question changes everything. Before I get too much further along, I should explain the eclipses that are coming up. We have a solar eclipse on August 12th, which is in Leo, and a lunar eclipse on August 28th, which is in Pisces. And one of the reasons the eclipses feel so powerful is because they often expose where we have outgrown ourselves. And we often don't think about that. Where have we outgrown ourselves? A job that once felt meaningful suddenly feels very limiting and restrictive. A relationship that maybe felt really supportive begins to feel overbearing and restrictive. A belief that once kept us safe no longer serves our growth. And the eclipses do not punish us. They reveal to us. They shine light on the places where our soul has already moved forward, but our personality is still holding on to something in the past. And this is where many people become uncomfortable because awareness creates responsibility. Once we see the truth, we're asked to choose. The choice may not happen immediately. The change may unfold over months, but the portal has opened. And we know it. Perhaps the greatest misunderstanding about closure is believing that closure means forgetting. It doesn't. Closure doesn't erase the past. Closure integrates the past. Closure doesn't mean the journey didn't happen. Closure means the journey no longer controls the direction of your future. So these eclipses of August, on August 12th and 28th, are not asking you to forget about what happened between 2020 and now. They're asking you to harvest that experience, to gather the wisdom, to gather the strength, to gather the resilience, to gather the compassion, and then carry only those things forward that are needed. The pain was the teacher. The lesson is the gift. And the eclipse is the moment you decide which one continues the journey, the gift or pain. Perhaps this is the true message. The events of 2020 through 2025 no longer define who you are becoming. They helped create who you became. That is the difference. One keeps us trapped in the past, and the other allows us to build from it. Many people spent these years surviving, navigating uncertainty, managing loss, adapting to change, finding their footings, and learning resilience. And now the new invitation emerges. Can you stop identifying with what happened? Can you begin identifying with what you learned? Can you shift from surviving transformation to consciously leading from the wisdom it created? That is where empowerment becomes. Not in forgetting the journey, not in denying the experience, but in recognizing you are more than what happened to you. You are who you became because of it. And when we look ahead from 2027 and beyond, the invitation becomes conscious creation, not reacting to life, but participating with life, not waiting for the next sign, but becoming the sign, not waiting for the next doorway or the portal, but recognizing that you are the doorway. You are the portal. This is leadership. Not leadership as a title, not leadership as a platform, not leadership as authority over others, but leadership as embodiment. Leadership is wisdom lived. Leadership as the courage to become who your experiences prepared you to be. Leadership as the willingness to create from the light you have earned and turned up. The portal is you. The greatest realization I have had over the years is this. The portal is not outside of you. You are the portal. Every thought, every choice, every act of courage, every moment of forgiveness, every step forward, every step towards authenticity, every decision to trust yourself. These are portals. These are thresholds. These are moments where one reality ends and another begins. And yes, the universe supports them, and the universe pushes us and creates the opportunities. The planets reflect them. Life provides them. But you activate them. You always have. You always will. The doorways and gateways are there, but it's always your choice and your recognition of moving through that energy, of creating your own portal, your own gateway. So as we move beyond the solstice in June and move into July and into August, perhaps the question is not whether a karmic loop has closed. Perhaps the question is, what version of yourself are you ready to become now? Because the future has not been written by what happened in 2020. The future is being written by what you choose today. And that choice has always belonged to you. The solstice marked the threshold. The eclipses illuminate the path ahead. And going into 2027 and beyond invites us into conscious creation and leadership. Because the portal was never only the solstice. The portal was never only the eclipses. And the portal has always been you. I want to thank you for listening today. I'm Laurie Wondra. This is Messages from the Universe.
Thank you for listening to Messages from the Universe. For information about Laurie Wondra's current events or to schedule a private session, Visit her website, yourlifecore.com. You can also subscribe to her monthly newsletter. Laurie also shares inspirational and informational messages on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening.